Good morning and welcome back to this week's episode on the Morning Horizons podcast. I heard this story a couple years ago. I'm not really sure how long it's been, but it was so important. It just made sense. It was, I just wanted to share it with you. I thought, if it's important to me, that there's someone out there that will find the importance. It's about this cook and his daughter in the kitchen, and he's getting ready for her to take over the business. He's old in age. He's ready for a break, and his daughter is just not quite there. She's close, but she's not quite there. She's hasn't learned some lessons, and he thinks that it would be really important to her. So he gathers things from the kitchen. He grabs a potato, he grabs an egg, and he grabs some coffee beans. And he lays them out on the table, and he asks his daughter, he says, "What are these?" And of course, she looked at him antagonized almost. She was like, "Oh, I don't know why you're asking me this. It's a potato, an egg, and coffee beans. Now what?" And the chef, he grabs a pot of boiling water, and he boils, and he waits, and she's growing impatient. He doesn't say anything to her, he just lets her watch. And he says, "Are you sure that these items in front of you are all that they are?" And she scoffs and she says, "Dad, I know what a potato looks like. And I know what an egg looks like, and they're coffee beans. They're not anything special." And as the water comes to a boil, he drops the potato in and the eggs, and he pours out some of the water into a smaller pot, and he puts the coffee beans, and he boils the coffee beans, and he boils the potato, and he boils the egg. And after a couple of minutes, he takes them out, and he asks her again, "Well, what are they?" And she says, "Well, it's the same thing that you put in." And he looks at her, and partially, she is correct. He grabs the potato, and he says, "This potato was once stubborn, unmoving, unwavering, and now it is soft." And he set it back down on the table, and he moved on to the egg. And he picks up the egg, and he says, "This egg once was very fragile, and is harder now, tougher than when it went in." And then he moves on to the small pot with the coffee beans, and he says, "This pot of water has changed these coffee beans. It is not hard nor soft. It is entirely different." And she looked at him. She's still not sold on what his point is. And the chef looked at his daughter, and he said, "All three of these things went through the same thing in life." And this story was so important because although all three went through the trials of the water life, they all came out different. The potato was broken down, and I can tell you for certain there are times in my life where I have been too headstrong, and I went at a problem and I left defeated, softened. And there are times where I was too soft, like the egg. I was too fragile, and by the end of the struggles, the water, I was closed off. Different, yes, but maybe too much so. And then there are struggles in life that I have faced where I wasn't the same person anymore. It's hard to think about comparing life to food, but the truth is these transformations we see everywhere. Sometimes when we're bullheaded, we get the rug swept out from underneath us. Sometimes we're not sturdy enough, and the world breaks us in. Sometimes we are too fragile, and we become cold because of it. I'd like to say that we strive to be the coffee beans, making something new, inventive, inspired, but that's really up to us. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week. That's all for this episode. If you feel like you've enjoyed this story, would like to hear more, subscribe, share the video with someone who you think needs a little talking to from some food logic. And as always, enjoy the rest of your week.